And guys, what is going on? The hat is back on, and this is going to be a much better chat than what we got from my live Raw review tonight. But this is the Club of the Man 1993, and this is the fourth edition of my NXT TakeOver, well, technically pay-per-view since the first show was not called a TakeOver. My fourth NXT pay-per-view retro review, as again, I'm going back now and reviewing all the NXT TakeOver shows, well, NXT pay-per-view shows that I did not watch or review yet, which again is all the way up until TakeOver Brooklyn 3 for shows I haven't reviewed. Again, after, of course, this show, there's two more shows left for these pay-per-views that I have not actually seen yet. The rest of them I have seen. But this was definitely one of them that I probably wanted to see the most. Dare I say, definitely one of my favorite takeovers so far. I do think this was a takeover that really, the previous three, of course, were great. The first one was good. The second one was good. The third one with Fatal 4, I thought was the weakest so far. This one I felt is when NXT really got started. Like the wheels really started to go in motion because of that main event for sure. And of course, who made a well-known statement this night, not just in his debut match, but after the main event as well. It's that heartbreaking moment that, of course, is another moment I wish I would have experienced live, like experienced the moment when it happened. Can't say no, this is a classic. Almost gave this an A+, my classic grade, but I just came up short. So I gave this one just a strong A, as this was still a very good takeover, sure, as I enjoyed all the matches from top to bottom. I all thought they were pretty strong matches for the most part. And yeah, we'll get into it and talk about the show. Tyler's here live again, saying Miz should stay on SmackDown. But let's talk about NXT TakeOver R Evolution. Took place on December 11th, 2014 at Full Sail University. Also, of course, I can't remember when exactly came on, but there was a special guest who was interviewed on this show. You know who that person was? Roman Reigns. Because it was the day before TLC 2014. And that Monday, he was voted Superstar of the Year. And of course, this is when Roman was out with that hernia injury. The next night at TLC, no, wait. I don't think it was that exact night, but that Sunday at TLC, Roman made his return, and that, of course, is when the whole Roman Reigns era, the Roman Reigns push just started. So seeing that happen, I'm like, dang, he's getting a good reaction tonight, but just wait till he returned in a few days, and everything just went downhill for the guy, unfortunately. But I had to make that little note there that he did appear on the show, get a backstage interview, whatnot. But anyway, so this show, again, as I said before, our evolution really was a night of an evolution. As I said before, this set up one of the best feuds in NXT history. And it led to one of the best years in NXT. This is the last NXT TakeOver pay-per-view from 2014. 2015 was a great year for NXT. 2018, I still say it was probably a little bit better because, they put on 3 classic level shows. This one, of course, was about to be a classic. Maybe if it was enough for, a couple matches was a tad bit better, but this was still an amazing show and definitely one of my favorite takeovers so far. But let's talk about the show. The big story of the night started in this opening match. It was CJ Parker taking on Kevin Owens in his NXT debut. Now, WWE had announced back in August they had signed Kevin Owens, Kevin Steen. And then in November, they announced he'd be Kevin Owens, and they started having vignettes and saying that he'd make his in-ring debut at TakeOver R Evolution. Obviously mentioning also in his vignettes that, he knows a lot of faces here in WWE and NXT, but they've all, of course, gotten here before him. So, of course, he wants to, basically just, prove he belongs here and whatnot, but in a babyface way he came across as. And this match with CJ Parker was like a brief, 6-minute match. But I think it showed us what we needed to know about Kevin Owens, basically. He's a big, heavy-set-looking man, but, he's dominating in the ring. He booked right. He's one of the most dangerous men in the ring as fight Owens, fight not, walk Owens, walk. Of course, CJ Parker did get some offense in this match. A lot of reviews of people are saying that CJ Parker is basically like a ripoff of Carlito. But of course, Owens came out spitting fire, but then Parker, got some offense, including a palm strike that actually, caused some Kevin Owens to bleed around the nose and whatnot. But Owens would eventually come up with the win, a dominating-looking 6-minute match by Kevin Owens. But, of course, he was only getting started that night. As he wins, of course, his NXT in-ring debut, which was a very well, he could probably give him maybe a couple more minutes, but it was still a very well-done match to put him over. His in-ring debut, obviously, since, on live TV, he was technically only in NXT for 6 months until he made his main roster debut. Of course, he was still in NXT until August when he had his final match in NXT at TakeOver Brooklyn 1. Can we talk about that show also? So, yeah, this is the beginning of just a brief journey at NXT where Kevin Owens made his way to the main roster. The second match we had on the show was the NXT Tag Title match. It was the Lucha Dragons, Kalisto and Sin Cara, taking on Aiden English and Simon Gotch, the Vaudevillains. Of course, another team that just really went absolutely nowhere on the main roster. Other than, of course, getting, a brief feud with the New Day for the tag titles, which I thought the tag match they had at Extreme Rules 2016 was pretty good. Gotch and English did have some potential. Of course, this was still a time where there's still tag teams being developed in NXT. As of course, it did take a while for the tag team division in NXT to kind of get hot until likes of DIY and the Revival, DIY, the Revival, Authors of Pain came along. Enzo and Cass were still heating up at this time. American Alpha, for crying out loud, how can we forget about them? Yeah, they flooded on the main roster too. But of course, again, the best of the tag team division was yet to come. But this match still was not too bad. But of course, as I see these matches more, obviously, again, this tag title run for the Lucha Dragons was more about Kalisto. Again, it's kind of how it is with NXT UK that I keep comparing to with Zach Gibson and James Drake. Obviously, it's more of a way to have Zach Gibson stand out more. I mean, James Drake is not bad either, but Zach Gibson is really the true star and the true reason why they have those tag titles. And the same thing's here with Kalisto. He was the obvious future star. The match was not as strong as usual with Sin Cara in the match, but it was still a good match. But definitely something was missing a little bit though from this match. I say it was a solid tag team match, but it could have been better. Again, this is around time again. Keep saying where the tag team division. The tag title division was still kind of building up in some ways. And still trying to develop a strong tag team. Because of course, after the Lucha Dragons, I believe it was Blake and Murphy who won the tag titles. Then the Vaudevillains, and then I think the Vaudevillains dropped them to the Revival. I believe it is. Yeah, the Revival, then Alpha, then back to Revival, DIY, Authors of Pain. You all know the whole story from there. But that was a pretty good tag match there. We then had kind of a squash match for Baron Corbin as he took on Ty Dillinger. Long before Ty Dillinger, of course, was the perfect 10. But Corbin, on pay-per-views can still continue to have this, brief, dominating matches. And, of course, the crowd is counting down, how long it's going to take for him to, win the match, which this match took, where's the time listed here? This match took 40 seconds. So Corbin squashes Ty Dillinger. After the match, though, he has a stare down with Bull Dempsey, who is at ringside. I guess apparently at the time they're having this kind of like a big man. Anything you can do, I could do better for you. Kind of like how it was with Ricochet and Velveteen Dream. Because I'm pretty sure Ricochet and Velveteen Dream was much better than Baron Corbin. Bull Dempsey again. Never really was a Bull Dempsey fan. I mean, I saw him a little bit when I first started watching NXT before he left NXT, but I never was a big fan of him. So I think they do have a match at the next TakeOver, which I believe is TakeOver Rival. I thought at first it was a TakeOver Revenge, but it is a TakeOver Rival at the next pay-per-view. but was a fun tag team match. So it was I enjoyed it a little bit more than the Lucha Dragons and the Vaudevillains. Was a match with Hideo Itami and Finn Balor making their in-ring takeover debuts, taking on the Ascension. Obviously, this feud started back at TakeOver Fatal 4-Way when Hideo Itami, or Kent at the time, was first introduced. And he was introduced, and then the Ascension tried to take him out, and he took them out. Of course, the Ascension continued to target Itami. Finally, Itami had a tag team partner, and it was the debuting Finn Balor, but just regular Finn Balor. Set, of course, for this match at TakeOver Our Evolution. But Finn Balor said, he's going to be bringing something. He has a little surprise for TakeOver. It's going to be something beyond what any of them imagine. And, of course, main roster WWE would overhype that and be something like, that didn't feel like it was that big of a deal at all. But, of course, it ended up being Finn Balor, of course, came out as the Demon, which was pretty awesome to see. Demon Finn Balor taking on Demon Finn Balor taking on Hideo Itami would be a pretty good match. But Finn Balor and Hideo Itami versus the Ascension. Just a fun tag team match, definitely. Get both Itami and Balor their time to showcase as two of, the next big-time upcoming stars for sure in this division. Of course, one was supposed to get the big push first before the other one. Unfortunately, due to injury, the other one got the big push first. But again, Tommy had his great hard-hitting skills in this match. The Ascension, still, poses a threat at times in this match. Again, the Ascension, we're still a strong team in NXT. Yes, they failed on the main roster, but in NXT, they still, they were still great. One of the best tag teams, again, with a 344-day title reign, even though, once again, it was the time when, again, NXT, the weakest part of NXT at the beginning was their tag team division for sure. But, it still, was getting there for sure. But it's a good way to definitely get two of the biggest stars who just recently came to the company, again, of course, in Itami and Balor, to put them over. Of course, Itami did tease the GTS. He didn't do it. But then it ended when both him and Balor and Itami each did, like a double foot stomp or a coup de grace to the chest of each member of the Ascension, but Balor was a legal man, and he got the win. There was a time where it looked like the Ascension was going to win because they had Balor set up for the fall of man, but then Itami pulled, I think it was Connor out of the ring, and he saved Balor. So Balor and Itami get the win over the Ascension, and it's a great way to showcase both of these, upcoming stars for sure in their first TakeOver match. I see how many times AJ, Ray, and Miz should stay on SmackDown in the Shake-Up for sure, and Joe should stay on SmackDown too. Maybe, I don't know. But then we had our NXT Women's Championship match. Charlotte taking on Sasha Banks. Now, of course, as I said, the last pay-per-view, it seemed that Charlotte had kind of gone to the more heel side when she feuded with Bayley. But then, of course, Charlotte seemed to gain a little more respect for Bayley, but Sasha did not approve of that. And, of course, Sasha's probably the best, upcoming heel for sure in NXT at the time. So, of course, she was the one who earned herself her opportunity to become the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship. Of course, these two women would eventually, have a main roster feud. Yes, went a little too long with the whole hot potato thing, but a feud that really, brought, what the NXT women's division, I still got to say at this time, the strongest thing about NXT, I think, was that women's division for sure. Just making it look like night and day compared to the main roster and developmental. But, seeing this match and knowing, the series of matches they put on the main roster, again, I still say my favorite match between Sasha and Charlotte was still that match it was my women's match of the year, that Raw on July 25th, 2016, here in Pittsburgh. Again, unfortunately, I wasn't at that event. I wish I was. But the first time that Sasha defeated Charlotte to win the championship, I felt their best match. I mean, they still had a great match at SummerSlam. The triple threat with Charlotte, Sasha, and Bayley was still great. Hell in a Cell was all right. Could have been a little bit better. Falls Count Anywhere I thought was good. The Iron Woman match that they had, I wasn't really that thrilled with. But they still put on a great series of matches, and they did so here too. Honestly, again, even though at the time, Sasha seemed like she was more the fan favorite despite being the heel. But obviously, this is kind of a match showing that Sasha was definitely a star in the making in one of her first cracks at, the women's title, as I believe the next pay-per-view, yes, the next pay-per-view TakeOver Rival is the Fatal 4-Way with the 4 Horsewomen. Of course, at the time also, Becky Lynch was a heel, and her and Sasha were kind of a team here. But I thought this was a good match for sure. Definitely, give Sasha her first taste, like the main event of the women's division for sure. Because Bayley had gotten it, and after of course Charlotte faced Natalya to win the vacated women's title, and then of course the last pay per view with Bayley was still a good match. This one I thought was a little bit better than the Bayley match that they had last pay per view, but again, to set the stage for what these women were definitely going to do, especially when it came to the main roster. Of course, the match ended with a nice-looking natural selection by Charlotte. She hit that while Sasha was up on the top rope. So top rope, natural selection, and avalanche finish, I thought for sure. And Charlotte retains the NXT Women's Championship. Then we get to the main event. One match that I've been dying to see for a long time. Although for the longest time, for some reason, I thought this was a ladder match, but it was not a ladder match. It was a singles match. Former friends, Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn for the NXT Championship. Now, the twist here, though, was if Sami Zayn lost, he would leave NXT. So Sami Zayn, of course, been built up as the ultimate underdog from the underground, the Daniel Bryan of NXT. He was putting on amazing matches, but just coming up short. But looking like he could have won the match if it wasn't for him, being, showing sympathy. And that's what, people had taken advantage of him for. Of course, he Neville took advantage of that TakeOver Fatal 4-Way when Sami was about to pin Tyson Kidd to win the championship after he hit the haluva kick on him, but Adrian Neville pulled the referee out of the ring, slightly going heel, but didn't go full on heel. But obviously knowing that Sami Zayn was a true threat to his championship. And of course, Sami Zayn wanted to prove himself again, and then he had a match with Neville on NXT. Neville did a red arrow that Sami Zayn got out of the way of. But then Neville pretended to fake an injury just to go Sami into a roll-up victory on him to retain the title. So then Sami finally says, I want one more shot at the NXT Championship. If I can't win, though, I cannot be here. Of course, Neville, is refusing to be the one to end one of his good friends' careers. But he says, I wish you the best of luck. Sami Zayn refused to do the handshake, of course, in the promo, because, this is what it's all about. People are trying to take advantage because I show, that sensitive side and the empathy and whatnot and the sensitivity. As that's not going to be the case anymore. I mean serious business. He even went as far as slapping Neville across the face as well. And that's what I was told here. Just amazing. Some great back and forth action. Sami Zayn obviously, showing several times that he could definitely have beaten Neville as well. The only thing I was hoping we would have gotten from this match is Sami Zayn kicking out of the red arrow. He blocked the red arrow with the knees, but I would have liked to have seen if there was a time for someone to kick out of the red arrow, I think Sami Zayn was the fitting person for sure to do that, but he didn't do that. But of course, towards the end when this match really picked up a lot, I mean, of course, the match was still great, but until that ending, of course, whenever, that like the emotions of Sami Zayn were tested. Neville kicked out or something like that, and he ran head first into the referee who was down, and then, Neville brought in the championship and whatnot, but Sami Zayn got him down. But then for a moment, Sami was going to, just crack, from being, the good person doing things right, and he was going to first use the title to attack Neville with it, but then he didn't. He resisted, of course, again, a few times the referee got knocked down a few more times, such as, of course, when Sami went for the haluva kick on Adrian Neville, but Neville pulled the referee in, and the referee took the haluva kick instead. And then, of course, again, Neville would go to set up for the red arrow. Of course, Sami get the knees up, block it. And, of course, a few times, Sami tried to get himself with a loop kick in the corner, but it wasn't quite working because the referee kept getting knocked down and whatnot. And just, again, Neville was doing all he could to keep holding the championship, knowing that, he wasn't full-on heel, but he knew that Sami was the biggest threat to his championship. But he finally got the haluva kick on him, and the 1-2-3 count, Sami Zayn becomes NXT champion. After, of course, the journey as the underdog, who was known as being the one who could not win the big one, he won the big one. And afterwards, of course, it was a huge celebration, a long celebration, confetti, the entire NXT locker room coming out to congratulate Sami Zayn, kind of getting that babyface feel, when it's like a big fanfare like Sami Zayn was, everyone showing their support. And of course, even Neville got back in the ring. Sami tried to put his hands to shake his hand. At first, it looked like, Neville was going to go full on heel because he kicked Sami's hand away, but he gives him a hug and gives him the sign of respect and puts him over. Again, everybody was out there celebrating, and Sami Zayn was taking his time celebrating as well. Of course, if I was watching this live, because I knew what happened, of course, I think, this is taking forever, for him to get out. They even showed the graphic, but they didn't do it as soon as, they didn't fully Tommaso Ciampa, have the graphic up and then do the turn when the graphic happened. The graphic went away for a few minutes. Sami Zayn went outside the ring and, embraced his best friend, Kevin Owens, again, who had made his NXT debut earlier on the night. They started walking up the ramp, and all of a sudden, bam! Kevin Owens then grabs Sami by the throat and just slams him right down to the post. He then just kicks Sami in the gut, picks him up, and slams him on the apron with that signature pop-up powerbomb. During a time, of course, when that powerbomb into the apron was really sold well, and people were staying off of live TV for a few weeks to really sell that in the effects from that strike. Of course, on the main roster, Seth Rollins takes it, and a week later, he shows up for his match with Kevin Owens when they were feuding in 2016, and, they kind of, watered down that move a little bit, but Kevin Owens, makes his NXT debut, has a great performance against CJ Parker, and immediately turns on his best friend, makes a bold statement, setting the bar high for him, and once again, starting one of the best feuds in NXT history. Now, of course, I have seen NXT TakeOver Unstoppable. I have not seen their match at NXT TakeOver Rival, though. I'm very interested to see that match because I'm pretty sure that may be their best match. There are two matches they had on pay-per-view on the main roster, such as at Payback 2016 and Battleground 2016, which I think I prefer the Battleground. They're both excellent matches, but I think the Battleground match was the best one. I can't wait to see, of course, what happens with this match for sure, as these two former best friends get ready to go to war with each other and, again, have one of the best NXT feuds of all time for sure. And, of course, one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to watch NXT TakeOver R Evolution. And that will be my review for NXT TakeOver R Evolution 2014. If I had to give it a grade, I would honestly give it an A. Again, almost an A+, but not quite. I gave it a strong A for NXT TakeOver R Evolution. Live chat. Brock is Mr. Mike makes a joke for sure. These refs are screwed wrestlers 3 times. Yeah, I know that for sure as well. But thank you, Tyler, for your stuff in the live chat. And guys, thank you guys again for joining for this live review of NXT TakeOver R Evolution 2014. Next, we'll go to 2015 when we have NXT TakeOver Rival, which, of course, the main event will be the first of 2 TakeOver matches with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for the NXT Championship. But this is definitely one of those shows I couldn't wait to watch for sure. And again, there's 2 more TakeOvers I have not seen yet. But, of course, the rest of the ones we watched besides those 2 are ones, again, that I've already seen, but I've not reviewed yet on this channel. So, again, we have 4 down, 12 more left to go. Again, NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3 is the latest pay-per-view that NXT pay-per-view that I have not reviewed on this channel. But guys, once again, thank you for joining me live for NXT TakeOver R Evolution review. I give it an A. What are your thoughts on TakeOver R Evolution? Your thoughts down in the comment section below. If there's always slap a like on my video, subscribe or comment on my channel. Follow me on Twitter at TheManAirboy93. I'll start my first ever WrestleMania experience documentary down in the description box down below. Again, tomorrow night tomorrow for the whole day I'm going to be spending time with some friends, so I won't be able to watch SmackDown when it happens live, but I will watch the highlights and review it and try to do 205 live as well. Wednesday will be NXT UK and NXT review, and also try to do my NXT TakeOver 25 preview and predictions. Thursday will be my special live stream. Not sure what the topic's going to be yet. And then again, I'll have to wait to watch TakeOver and review it on Sunday because I work on Saturday. Sunday I have to get up early for a softball game, so I'll take care of all that Sunday afternoon. So once again, guys, thank you for joining me live for my NXT TakeOver R Evolution review. Do the same things I said before. Give it an A. Have a great night. I will see you guys all tomorrow. So until then, guys, have a great rest of your night. Peace out, everybody.